Okay, Be'ezat Hashem, Naaseh v'Natzliach. I want to welcome you to another session of our Parashat Shavua class. Baruch Hashem, hello. Baruch Hashem, we've been doing this for a few weeks, and we have a lot of regulars, a lot of new people joining us. Last week it was Yeshiva week. Some of us were on vacation, so we missed out on Beshalach, and I don't like that because Beshalach is one of my favorite parashiot. But we're going to squeeze a chidush or two from Beshalach in order to get started. Before we start the class, I'd like to dedicate the class to the Ilui Nishmat of Mor Eldin Abraham ben Yaakov, Shlomo ben Ba'ia, and Shlomo ben Chana v'Yom Tov Menaged. Also, this class should be to the Ilui Nishmat of David ben Zohara, Shmuel ben Amuma, Yaniv ben Rinat, Sion ben Zachariah, Avraham ben Fei ben Moshe, Daniel ben Juna, Miriam ben Tzimi, Pinchas ben Chasiba, Rachel ben Chana Vaknin, Shlomo David ben Isha, Afil Shlomo ben Luis Chana, and Reuven Israel ben Esther, Yeshua ben Esther, and Menachem Mendel ben Chana, Dvorah Fege ben Shmuel. Wow, the lists are getting so long lately for the Ilui Nishmat. Hashem Yirachem. Also, may this class be to Lo Aleinu V'Lo Alechem. This class will be Baruch Shemo Shel Kadosh Baruch Hu, dedicated to the Hatzlacha Zivug of Inbal Bat Jacqueline, Bat Chaim Bat Jacqueline, Yuda Lev Ben Mendel, Arya Lev, Kay, and Stacy Esther Bat Miriam, Yonatan Moshe and Julie Yerimi, Shalom Eliyahu Ben Stacy Esther, Avraham Ben Violet Chaya, Henshi Godeski, Guy Ben Dina, and also Shabbat Refuah Shelema of Alon Yehuda Yosef Ben Chana Miriam, Rafael Yonatan Ben Alice, and Miriam Ben Pesi. And for anybody here, wants to add, go ahead, voice it out before the class starts. Okay. Last week's parasha was Parashat Beshalach, and the parasha begins with Vayi Beshalach Paro et Ha'am. The Gemara teaches us every time you see the word Vayihi is Lashon Tsar. When you see the word Vehaya, it's Lashon Simcha. Meaning, when you see the word Vayihi, something bad is about to happen. Like Vayihi b'mei Achashverosh, right? That's the way the Megillah starts, right? Something bad is about to happen. Vehaya is something of joy, something of happiness. So we see that the first pasuk of Parashat Beshalach is Vayihi Beshalach Paro et Ha'am. Vayihi Beshalach Paro. So something negative is about to happen to Paro. Now, what was the tsar of Paro? What was Paro's sorrow? So the Midrash tells us that even though he allowed all the Jewish people to leave, and he gave them permission after 10 Makot, we know the whole wheeling and dealing that he had Moshe Rabbeinu, but he had a little bit of a sorrow. Why? Because besides the Jewish people that left Egypt, who also left? Erev Rav, the mixed multitude, which means what? Egyptians left also. So what's the problem with that? So we know that Paro has a huge ego. Paro was a famous king at that time. He was the most famous king in the world. Why is that? Because there was a famine. And the whole world came to break the famine in Mitzrayim. So everybody got to know him. Oh, here's the king, where the famine doesn't affect him, where he has all the riches of all the world. Everybody gave him all the money and all the people. So Paro got such a big name out there. Now, after the 10 Makot, after the 10 plagues, after the splitting of the sea, there's going to be now a group of Egyptians that are out there that are going to start to do what? Bad publicity to the egotistical king. They're going to start to say, where are you from? Oh, from Egypt. Oh, why did you leave Egypt? And they're going to start bad-mouthing Paro. What would they bad-mouth him? Well, first, he claimed to be a god. Now, you can see that the Jewish people left Egypt, and their God is stronger than Paro. So that's going to be one thing. Also, I'm going to give him a bad reputation, that he lost his slave nation, he lost all the prestige that he had for all these years. So Ve'i B'Shalach Paro, what's the tsar that Paro had? Is some of the goyim some of the Erev Rav, some of the Egyptians left Egypt. Now, if we skip to Shirat Hayam, if we skip to the splitting of the sea, we see over there a very famous pasuk. And I just want to focus on one part of this pasuk. In Shirat Hayam, in Perek Tedvav, in pasuk Bet, it says, Ozi v'zimrat ya, v'el Yeshua, ze eli ve'anvehu, Elohei avi, v'aro mimenu. What does that second part of the pasuk say? First of all, the Gemara teaches us that anytime you see the word ze, that means you can actually point to it with your finger. Which means what? Ze eli ve'anvehu. They actually saw God and they pointed, Ze eli, this is my God. That's one group of people. The second group of people said, Elohei avi v'aro mimenu. This is the God of my father and my grandfather and my great-grandfather, of my forefathers. So we have two different types of people. There's a distinction over here that we have to make. The Midrash tells us, Ze eli ve'anvehu, that was the Erev Rav. That was the mixed multitude. That was the Egyptians that came out. Why? This is a first-hand encounter. Ze eli ve'anvehu, this is my God. This is why I left Egypt. This is the reason why I'm here with the Jewish people. It's a first-hand encounter. It's a first-hand edut, right? Testimony that this is my God. The Elokei Avi, that's Am Yisrael. They have like a handed-down experience of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Oh, this God, yeah, he's my God, but he's also the God of my father, my grandfather, all that. Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. I know him. There's nothing, it's not a surprise. I know who this God is. We used to read about him on Shabbat from the Megillot. I heard the stories from Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. My father and my grandfather told me there'll be a redeemer. He will sepakod yifkod. I heard that Hashem is one day going to redeem us. Elohei Avi. The Erev Rav said, Ze eli. Now, there's a very famous Rashi on this pasuk. If you go to pasuk Bet, Rashi, it says, very long Rashi, Ze eli. ראתה שפחה על הים, מה שלא ראו נביאים. A maid servant, a Goya, a Gentile, an Egyptian woman, was able to see in the splitting of the sea what the Nevi'im, what the prophets weren't able to see. So on a very simple level, we can understand this Rashi, that the maidservant is on a higher level than a prophet. That's what this Rashi is saying, Pshat. The maidservant is on a higher level. The Goyish maidservant, the Egyptian maidservant, is on a higher level than the Nevi'im. There's a different place that says that a different wording to this Rashi. There's a place that says, Ra'ata shifcha al hayam, the Midrash brings it, Ma shelo ra'a Yecheskel ben Buzi. Who's Yecheskel ben Buzi? He is also a prophet that saw Maaseh Merkava. You know what's Maaseh Merkava? This is the Kabbalist playground. We don't even know what it is. He was able to see that. He was on such a high level. Yet again, we give more importance to who? To the Shifcha. Why? Why? Yes. Why is the Shifcha on a higher level than a prophet?
Strong. She's strong, something from above. She didn't become, she's full of shifra and laughing. She's strong, something from above.
Okay.
Take the time for that second. Yeah.
Okay.
At that moment.
Okay. Let's take the lesson in the direction that we want to drive it in. We have over here the classic example of frum from birth and Baal Tshuva. What's the difference between somebody who's religious his whole life and comes from a religious family that's been religious their whole life, that comes from a heritage that they're religious their whole lives, versus someone who just got into the game? What's the difference between frum from birth to the Baal Teshuvah. So let's see, the fruit from birth, Zedi ve'anvehu, they're on automatic. First of all, let me give a disclaimer before we get started, because I just want to understand. I want to salute all the fruit from birth, first of all. If it wasn't for them holding the torch for us all these years, all these Baalei Teshuvah won't have places to even come back to. The fruit from birth, Baruch Hashem, whatever we're going to say now, just in order to learn a lesson, not in any way talking negatively, but just dissecting it a little bit for understanding. But if it wasn't for them, the Jewish religion wouldn't even be around. So we have to give credit for that. But if we do a comparison between somebody who's religious from birth to someone who's a Baal Teshuvah, there's a big difference. What's the difference? The person who is religious from birth, they are, most of the time, you know this and I know this, of course there's exceptions. There's people that are connected, there are people that are doing everything exactly the way that it is. But people that are typically born into a religious family, they're on automatic. They're very robotic in their service of Hashem. Sometimes you see that their prayer is lifeless. They check in, they check out, they come, they shuckle, they know when to bow, they know when to go back further. They do an Amidah in 1 minute and 30 seconds. You do a Asiyah Baal Teshuvah, 7 minutes, he's still in Shomea Tefillah. What's the difference? The guy that's been doing it for so long, what's going on? They don't know any different. They are, they don't know anything else. This is their normal. They have almost like a handed down experience from their father, from their grandfather. And oftentimes you go to somebody who's ultra religious, or somebody who's from birth, they'll tell you they find it very hard to find the fervor for Avodat Hashem. They come in, they check out, they check the box, and they go home. What's the Baal Teshuvah? The Baal Teshuvah, everything for them is what? It's new. Everything is like a discovery or rediscovery of something. And they have enthusiasm, they have fervor, they have desire. You see them, they pick up a shakol, they do shakol on water. Baruch Ata Hashem, Elokeinu Melech HaOlam. They're waiting for a huge, like thunderous Amen. The Baal Teshuvah, you see him, when he goes to you see him in Amidah, you see him, you feel him, he's talking to God. You see it, you feel it. He looks forward to Shabbat. He's the guy that comes to shul on Shabbat with the biggest smile. Shabbat Shalom. Shtabach Shemolad. Praising Shabbat, praising the Torah, praising God. And some people that walk into shul, they're already, what time is going to be Havdalah tomorrow? What are you going to do? There is such a reality. Now, by the way, this passed down experience, I have to stop the comparison when we get to the Avot. When we get to Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, I can't say it continues to there, because I don't think Avraham and Yitzchak and Yaakov fit the description that I just gave. Because if you go open up the Amidah, what does it say? Elohei Avraham, Baruch Ata Hashem, Elokeinu Echam, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Ve'Elohei Yaakov. Right? Why does it say the God of Avraham, the God of Yitzchak, the God of Yaakov? Couldn't they just, saved us some words? Elohei Avotenu, Elohei Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. What's this repetition of Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, and Elohei Yaakov? So, Elohei Avraham, we know that Avraham went on a journey. He was the first one. He was the first one to go in search of God. He found him. And after he found him, what did he do? He went and he told his son, Yitzchak, I discovered God. And what does he tell him after he discovered God? He tells him, there's only one God in the world, and you should follow my steps. What does Yitzchak say? Abba, I love you, but I gotta find out for myself. And he goes and he does find out. And what happens in the end? He says, it's Elohei Yitzchak, it's my God too. Yaakov comes, oh, Yitzchak, my father, tells me there's a God. My grandfather tells me that there's a God. Maybe I should just be on automatic, just follow this way. No, Yaakov says, I have to find out for myself that he's my God too. So when we say Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, yes, they could have relied on his father, on his grandfather, but he said, no, I got to discover for myself that he's my God too. In other words, he went for that personal journey. He went for that discovery. That's why, just like, and that's actually the job that we all need to do. That we wake up in the morning and say, Eloi Avraham, Eloi Yitzchak, Eloi Yaakov, and put there in addition, Eloi Sharon, Eloi Yosef, Eloi everybody, put it in. It's my God too. By the way, you can't add words over there, so don't do that. I'm just saying, mentally, that's your God too. You have to make sure that it's your God too. Not somebody told you that you have to act like this, talk like this, eat this, don't do that. And because they told you, you do it. It's a personal discovery, discovering God. Continuing in Parashat Yitro, we come across another Gentile, another Baal Tshuva. We come to Parashat Yitro, it says, Vayishma Yitro Kohen Midyan, Choten Moshe, et kol asher asa Elokim leMoshe v'Yisrael amo, ki hotzi Hashem et Yisrael mimitzrayim. Now, this is a famous pasuk, and everybody wants to ask the question, Vayishma Yitro, what did he hear? What is it that Yitro heard? Rashi tells us that he heard two things. Kriyat Yam Suf, which, by the way, the whole world was talking about the Jews' miraculous splitting of the sea and rescued by God and being freed from Pharaoh and Mitzrayim. That was the talk of the town. Did you hear about the Jews? Did you hear about the Jews? Did you hear about the Jews? Mashama. Everybody's talking. Why? How do you know? My coffee split. My bathtub split. My pool split. My bottle of water split. Every body of water split in the world. So everybody's talking, why? Why I came around and they said, why? Because Hashem split the water for the Jewish people to be redeemed from Egypt. Okay, so you heard about Kriyat Yam Suf. What's the other thing that he heard? Milchemet Amalek. He heard that there was a war. Right after the splitting of the sea, there was a war. Amalek, a nation that is our arch nemesis, came to attack the Jewish people for one purpose only. They knew they were going to lose. They went into a losing war. They know that there's no way that they're going to win the war against the Jews and their God after Yetziat Mitzrayim. But why did they go to war? Lekarer et Am Yisrael. Meaning, even though the whole world is scared of the Jewish people, they still went to fight them. And what is this compared to? Rashi doesn't bring it here. You have to go to Sefer Dvarim, Parashat Kititze, and you go to the 25th chapter, Pasuk Yudchet, and over there he brings it. I'm going to read you this Rashi. This is a Rashi, it's a classic Rashi. You should know this, and it's a beautiful mashal. It says over there, in Parashat Kititze, we have Zachor. It's Parashat Zachor. Zachor et asher asa lecha Amalek b'derech tzatchem miMitzrayim, right? Pasuk Yudchet starts, Asher karecha b'derech, that he cooled you along the way. What do you mean he cooled you along the way? Rashi describes it. It says, Sinencha v'efshircha mirtichatcha. He says, the Jewish people, you were boiling hot for God in the Torah. You wanted so much to be connected to God. You wanted so much to go to Har Sinai to receive the Torah. You were so hot for it. Came Amalek and cooled you down. All of a sudden, you weren't so excited about it. All the nations of the world were scared to fight. And the only reason why he came is only to show the future enemies. Don't be scared of them, fight them. But they have God on their side. So what? We fought them, you could do it too. It was all a plot in order to cool the Jewish people and for future enemies to have guts, courage to fight the Jewish people in the future. Then he gives a beautiful mashal. Mashal le'ambati rotachat she'en ba kol bria yechola lired betocha. He says, what is this like? He says, imagine you have a jacuzzi with boiling hot water that nobody can set their foot inside. It's boiling hot water. Comes one guy and jumps into it. He knows he's getting burnt. He knows he's going to die jumping into that pool. Why would he do it? He says, even though that he got scolded, or even though that he was going to die, what happened? His body took away some of that heat, and it cooled down the temperature of the pool, cooled down the temperature of the jacuzzi, or the body of water, whatever you want to call it, dambati. In other words, he says, I'm gonna do a suicide mission in order to cool down for everybody else, so they have more courage in the future. So that's what Yitro heard. He heard about the splitting of the sea, and he heard about Milchemet Amalek. Now, before we continue about Yitro, maybe we should, get to know him a little bit better. Yitro actually has 7 names. Did you know that? Yitro had 7 names. Rashi gives them all to us. Reuel, Yeter, Yitro, Chovav, Hever, Keni, Putiel. 7 names he had. Yitro was also Kohen Midian. You know what's Kohen Midian? He was the Kohen Gadol La'avodah Zarah. He was the Pope of the time. All the different types of idolatry, he did every single one. There wasn't one Avodah Zarah that he didn't perform. Kohen Gadol La'avodah Zarah. He happened to also be the father-in-law of Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu married his daughter, Tzipporah. I'll give you a small little bonus. We love Gilgulim over here. He's also the reincarnation, or the Gilgul, of Cain. That's why he's called Keni. What's Keni? He's the Keni. There's a whole beautiful class about Cain, Hevel, Moshe, Mitzri, Moshe, Yitro, and Moshe Korach, which is all tied into Cain and Hevel. I think we did it about 3 years ago. Maybe we'll do it again next year. Maybe we'll do it maybe this week some way, somehow. Beautiful thing. Now, besides all these things, besides having 7 different names, besides being Kohen Gadol Avodah Zarah, besides being Moshe Rabbeinu's father-in-law, besides being the reincarnation of Cain, besides having his name get a parasha in our Torah, he's also a Baal Tshuva. He's a Baal Tshuva. He went and was, in the... הוא גר. מה זה? גר גם חוזר בתשובה. מה זה חוזר בתשובה? חוזר בתשובה that you discover God. He converted. If you go to פרק י"ח, פסוק ח' until י', it says, ויספר משה לחותנו את כל אשר עשה השם לפרעה ולמצרים. Moshe started to give an accounting to his father-in-law about everything that God did to Paro, to the Egyptians. He said he did in favor of the Jewish people. It says in all the, let's see what word they use over here, all the travail that had befallen them on the way, which we know that that was the splitting of the sea. Rashi explains tela'ah, splitting of the sea, as well as the war with Amalek. The next pasuk goes, Vayichad Yitro al kol hatova she'asa Hashem l'Yisrael asher yitzilu miyad Mitzrayim. It says Vayichad Yitro. What's Vayichad? The word Vayichad. Rashi says he became happy. He heard the story and it gave him joy. An alternate explanation to the word Vayichad, Rashi says he got the goosebumps. His hairs started to stand up on his, all over his body when he heard the story. He got very moved by it. Furthermore, if you take the word Vayichad, what's Vayichad? Imagine here's a person that tried every single type of Avodah Zarah, He hears about the miracles that Hashem did in Egypt. He hears about the war of Amalek. He hears the first account from Moshe Rabbeinu, Vayichad. What's Vayichad? Take the word Vayichad and split it in two. Vai, Chad. What's Vai? Whoa! Chad. There's one. He comes to the realization, whoa! There's only one. He gets the goosebumps. My spiritual journey is over. I found what I've been looking for. At the end of the day, even though he worshipped every type of Avodah Zarah, it's not a good thing, but he was in search of a spiritual experience. And he kept getting let down and let down and let down and let down and let down until finally he heard about God, but now he understood it. He Vayishma, meaning now he heard it on a much higher level. Now, when he heard Kol HaTorah, what's all the goodness that Hashem did? That he gave them the man, that he gave them the rolling rock of water, and that he's giving them the Torah. And in the thing that got him so impressed more than anything else, more than food from the heavens, more than a rolling rock of water, more than the receiving of the Torah, he was more impressed that the Jews were able to escape Egypt, which was virtually impossible. You have to understand that Yitro, he was the advisor to Paro. He was one of the advisors of Paro. He knew Egypt. He knew how evil that king was. As a matter of fact, we know, in previous classes we mentioned it, that they had a kishuf. You know what's a kishuf? They had a witchcraft on each gate. Each gate was an animal. There's a monkey, a dog, a bird. Each gate to coming out of Egypt had a special animal, and the kishuf was, the witchcraft was, that when somebody is escaping from there, the witchcraft will get activated. So let's just say they come out of the gate of the bird, then all the birds in Egypt would start to flap their wings, and there would be a sign. Somebody's trying to escape from the gate of from the bird gate. It's like it's an alarm. So he says, how? 9/10 of the world's kishuf was in Egypt. How did they get out of it? He was very impressed with that. Imagine, more than anything else. Vayichad, wow. Imagine, he's hearing this story, and it's really having an impression on him. Yes. It's also a nest. There's no, I guess, no. No, that's the animals that were part of the protection of the castle, his castle. Those were the animals that guarded, not just the gates, the animals that guarded the entrance to Paro. This we're talking about the gates to the city. Now, in Pasuk Yud, after he hears all this, what does it say? What does Yitro say? Vayomer Yitro Baruch Hashem. Vayomer Yitro Baruch Hashem Asher Yitzil Etchem Miyad Mitzrayim Umiyad Paro. Look at this. The Ger, the Gentile, the Pope is saying what? Baruch Hashem. Wow, that's major. That's major. Imagine that this guy over here, whoever the representative of the Christianity, gets up one day, he gets on his little balcony with the little red kippah and says, "Ladies and gentlemen, Baruch Hashem." It's a major thing, if not more, what Yitro is saying right here. And he says, he knew how great was the salvation from the Egyptians. By the way, we've had this thing of a Gentile saying Baruch Hashem before. We've had it in Noach. Noach said Baruch Hashem. And we had it Terach. That's the joke. We had it with, I believe it was with Lavan. And we had it also with Eliezer. And we have it here with Yitro. But this is the last time in the Chumash that we have that somebody says Baruch Hashem. So now this is, I don't know about you guys, but I'm very impressed with Yitro at this moment. That he's having such a turnaround. And what does he say in the following pasuk? Ata yadati ki gadol Hashem mikol elokim. He says, now I know that God is greater than all the other gods. Why would he say that? Ata, what's ata? Now. Why? Because he worshipped all types of avodah zarah. His entire life, it's one statue after another, one avodah after another. Each one he worshipped it differently. After who knows how many hundreds of different failed attempts, he says, now, finally, ata yadati, now I know. And you know, yediah, when you know something, it's not like you believe in something, it's you know. We hear he's saying a big word, ata yadati. Lo ata he'emanti, now I believe that God is God. Now I know that God is God. Major thing. It's a fact. You know, yediah is a fact. It's not like a feeling, an emotion, or a hope, or a thought. It's a fact. And continues in Pasuk Yud Aleph, it says, Ata yadati ki gadol Hashem mikol ha'olam, ki badavar zadu alehem. What is it, zadu alehem? But, you know, in the... How did he come to the point that he knows 100% that this is God? He says, you know why God is God? You know why I know that he's a real deity? Because the way Zadu Alehem, he says, I know what was Paro's plan. He wanted to kill the babies. He wanted to do all these different things. He wanted to torture them. But the way that you described to me the 10 Makot Moshe, the way that he gave them Midah Keneged Midah, right? That I saw that all the plans that he planned against the Jews, Kadosh Baruch Hu did what? Punished him in the exact same manner. So he says, Ki badavar zadu alehem. That's why I know it's God, because I know his plans. I know what he wanted to do before, and Hashem punished him exactly on those exact same manners. Ata yadati. Now I know it's for real. It's not even something that can be refuted. Now that he discovered that Hashem is in charge of all of existence, because that was the Makot, we know the 10 Makot, Hashem proved that he's in charge of the land, air, sea, insects, animals, human beings, the planets, the sun, the darkness. He's in control of everything. So now that Yitro is of that knowing, he knows that finally, that his journey, his spiritual journey, finally yielded success. Sof kol sof, all these years, he got to the finish line. He found the real ruchaniyut, the real spirituality that he's been in search of. And Hashem is the only God. So what do when you get to that realization that God is God, that your spiritual journey, that you succeeded on your life's journey? What do? You celebrate, you eat, you give thanks. And that's exactly what he does in the following pasuk. It says, ויקח יתרו חותן משה עולה וזבחים לאלוהים. ויבוא אהרון וכל זקני ישראל לאכול לחם מחותן משה לפני אלוהים. What does he do? He brings offerings. And these are sacrifices of joy, sacrifices of happiness, that finally he discovered God. We call it Seudat Hodaya. Typically when we get that type of feeling, God, you're so good to me. You're so good to me. Some people do it just when they're saved from an accident, or when they, or from something really major. So that Hodaya, God say thank you to Hashem that he didn't lose his life or his wife or his whatever. So I have to do a Sodat Hodaya. But you know, there's some Jews that are just so happy to be connected to God and all the goodness that He's been giving them, that they do a gratefulness, a Thanksgiving meal. It's a Thanksgiving meal. We are the original Thanksgiving. So but here over here, look, Yitro discovered the truth. He can't contain himself. Bring on the sheep, bring on the cattle, barbecue, food for everyone. Nice. Now, Yitro says, Ata yadati, now I know. He says, I knew about God in the past. I heard about Hashem, the God of Abraham. Right? I heard. But not like this. Now what happened? It's like you heard of him, like, you know, but not like this. Like now I really know God. Now I really have an understanding of who God is. It's very interesting. It's like Jews. There's some Jews, they know God is out there, right? They know He exists, right? They've heard about Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, the Bible. Their parents told them, you know, you have to keep Shabbat, you have to go to Shul on Yom Kippur. There's some Jews, they know God is out there. And what happened? They just didn't discover Him yet. It's the same thing like Yitro over here. It's the similar experience. I know God is out there. But now I know He's out there. Yitro over here is giving us a very, very similar experience, not only as a ger, but just as secular Jews that are just not connected, lost, or, you know. Thank you so much. In other words, we can establish that Yitro is a Baal Tshuva. Yitro is a ger that heard about God, discovered God, searched, went on a journey, found it, and once he found the truth, he clinged onto it, and he became a Baal Tshuva. Baal Tshuva is not an exclusive title just for Jews. Baal Tshuva is also a ger that goes, he's Christian one day, he finds the truth, ger tzedek.
Usually about Shuvah, you refer to a Kiloni guy. Usually, that's how they go, I think.
It is, 99% of the time, that's what it is. But sometimes we get a few Yitros in the world. Now, what do Baal Tshuva do? You ever see a Baal Tshuva? I don't speak because I'm one myself. And I know many people. And I see many people that are coming back. Plus, the time of Mashiach is now. There's going to be a wave of Baal Tshuva. Thousands, hundreds of thousands. Hopefully millions. You know what Baal Tshuvas are like? They bring joy. They bring happiness. They bring enthusiasm. They bring desire. They bring a new fervor to worship Hashem and the discovery of Hashem. They're excited. Just like Yitro. Look at his journey. Look at the joy that he had. Look at how the experience that he went through personally and his reaction when he discovered. Now notice, Amalek, in the previous parasha, in the end of the parasha, Amalek comes and cools down the Jewish nation. Imagine, you just saw the 10 plagues. You just had a splitting of the sea. You just became a billionaire overnight. Moshe Rabbeinu is your leader. Food from the heavens. A rolling rock of clouds of glory. And you're still cooled down? You're still not like, what? God is great? You're not there? Amalek was able to cool you down? And the truth was, yes. Amalek did. That's what he says. Why did they call that specific place Refidim? That's the place where Amalek came to attack them, was Refidim. Kirafu Yadam Ma'avodat Hashem. Their hands became weak or lackadaisical in the service of Hashem. They had 3 days where they didn't toil in Torah. By the way, there's a famous Ben Ish Chai that says, Da'agu Chachamim. They said that our sages worried that there will be a repeat event of 3 days without Torah, and they instituted that we read Torahs on Monday, Thursday, and Shabbat. Why? Monday to Thursday, 2 days. Right? Thursday to Shabbat, 2 days. Never 3 days. But the Ben Ish Chai says, what's Da'agu? Da'agu, Dalet is Wednesday. Aleph is Sunday. Gimel is Tuesday. Vav is Friday. Da'agu, that those days, isn't it? Beautiful. Ben Ish Chai. Now, we see over here that just before Parashat Yitro, what do we have? Amalek that cooled down the Jewish people. What's the next scenario? What's the next scene in the Chumash? Yitro is on the scene. Yitro comes. And what does Yitro bring? Yitro brings enthusiasm. He brings appreciation. He's awed by God. Imagine, they just fought a war with Amalek. They're like sort of on a downhill performance level. Comes Yitro. He's throwing a party. Look at this. God is great. What is he doing? He's taking all the from birth that are, this. Comes the Baal Tshuva and he's shaking them up. He's shaking them up. He's giving them life again. That's the end of the class. We'll get there. Of course, from birth are beautiful people. But they also need to be shaken up. They also need to do teshuvah on their from birth. They also need to feel... Yeah. So we see that the Jewish people, they got used to seeing miracles. Splitting of the sea. That's fine. Hashem just brought all the animals of the world last week. Hashem just turned off the light in Egypt for a week. Hashem just turned the river. They got used to miracles. He just turned the river into blood. Like miracles was an everyday thing. You know, if you see a miracle, whoa! It's shocking. The Jewish people got used to miracles. However, Yitro comes and he says, "You're used to miracles? You just left Egypt? I can't believe it. You just won the war with Amalek? Impossible. You have food from the heavens? I've never heard of this." He says, "You have a rolling rock with water that comes out of it? Hashem gave you the Torah and he started to learn the Torah with Moshe to see the few things that was given." He's like, "You guys got used to this? These are things that we should be peeling you off the ceiling from these amazing things that are happening to you on a daily basis." So once again, we see that the Baal Teshuvah has the ability to see God's greatness. Every day, every moment, every little thing is appreciated. Everything is new. Everything is fresh. Everything is impressive. Everything is impactful. We're going to get to that also. So, and this is in contrast to where the people that experience those miracles, these are people, they experience Damam, they experience the splitting of the sea, they experience Mitzrayim, and they don't have that same approach or reaction to what's happening to them. Now, being that Yitro was also the father-in-law of Moshe, being that he was the loving and caring father-in-law of Moshe, because before it was Chotan Yitro. When they speak about Moshe, oh Moshe, yeah, he is Yitro's son-in-law, right? But now in the desert, who's the big shot? Moshe. So what is it? Yitro? He's Moshe's father-in-law. Meaning, now, who has the bigger name? You know who has the bigger name? First mention the name. Before, when Yitro was the big shot, who was he? Moshe was Choten Yitro. Now, Yitro is Choten Moshe. So, he cares for him. And he starts. Now, even though we will talk about his Baal Teshuvah, I want to take a different approach about Yitro. Let's see another side to this character in the Torah. It says in Parashat, in the second Aliyah, it says, the following day, Moshe is sitting in front of the Jewish people, and he's, they're asking him questions, and he's replying. And it was a job that all day and all night, people are online asking Moshe questions. And Yitro is seeing all this that's happening between his son-in-law and the nation. Vayomer, and he tells him, what are you doing? Why are you standing all day long, working yourself to the bone from morning to night? The whole nation is standing in front of you from morning to night. He's now letting him know that there's something wrong over here. Vayomer Moshe lechotno. They want to know God. They have questions. They have halachic questions. I have to answer them. I'm the rabbi. He says, they have issues, and I'm the one that can judge between them, and I'm giving them the laws of God and the Torah. Yitro tells them, you're not doing a good thing. It's not a good thing. Navol tibol gam ata gam ha'am hazeh asher imach. He says you're going to get worn out. Nibol is like you're going to be, how do you call it? You're going to wilt away. Navol tibol, you and the nation. Because this is a kaved mimcha davar. This is a heavy thing. It's a heavy job. One person and a whole nation. It doesn't make sense. They're gonna wear you out. לא תוכל לעשהו לבדיך. You can't do it on your own. אתה שמע בקולי. Listen to me. I don't know for you guys that are married, when your father-in-law tells you, listen to me, you know what you have to do? You have to listen to him. You know why? Because a lot is on the line. Your Shalom Bayit is on the line, the holiday meals are on the line, the Shabbatot are on the line, a lot is on the line. So when your father-in-law tells you, listen to me, you have to acquiesce whether you agree or not. Some of the time, because you have to also, the halakha is, you have to respect your father-in-law the way you respect your own father. They say that even when a father-in-law passes away, the other, and he's not your, meaning, and you are his in-law, you're required for his kavod to do classes, to do things to Ilu Nishma, to do Kaddish for him. If he only has daughters, you have to take upon yourself a lot of things. Look what it says over there in Pele Yoetz about Horim. If you look at Pele Yoetz, it talks about parents. Look what he says about the parents of your wife when she has no brothers. Very interesting section in Pele Yoetz. Furthermore, it says, Ata shma bekoli, listen to me. Let me give you advice and God will be with you. He says, you go in front of God, ask the questions, and then come to the nation. So I'm just going to skip over here. You tell them what to do. ואתה תחזה מכל העם אנשי חיל, יראה אלוקים אנשי אמת, שונא בצע, ושמת עליהם שרי אלפים, שרי מאות, שרי 50, שרי עשרות. Now he's coming with a logistics plan. So this is what you do. You gather people that are responsible, people that you can trust, and now we're going to do sarim. In other words, we're going to do men that are going to be leaders. Leaders over 10 people, leaders over 50, leaders over 100, leaders over 1,000, leaders over 10,000. And they'll be the judges. And they'll only come to you when there's a question that it's the neighborhood rabbi, to the community rabbi, to the city rabbi, to the chief rabbi, and if they don't have an answer, then they come to Moshe Rabbeinu to get the answer. Levels, tiers, right? And it's going to be a proper system for you to maintain this influx of questions that you have on a daily basis. Now, you know what? That was good advice. Very good advice. It's logical. It makes sense. And it's logistically genius, if you think about it. Because everywhere you go, there's a rabbi. For every 10 people, where's my rabbi? He's right there. You have a bigger question, go for the rabbi that is part of the tribe, the section, the north section, the south section, the east section. If not, there's tiers. Logistically, it's a genius plan. Let's leave it there for now. If you go to Pasuk Chavdalet, look what it says. Vayishma Moshe lekol chotno, vayas kol asher amar. He did everything exactly. He did exactly what he asked him to do. Moshe selected the people. He put him on top of as leaders over the nation. Sari alafim, sari meot, sari 50, sari asarot. V'shaftu ta'am becholet. And the plan worked. And et hadavar kashe, and all the things that were difficult he brought to Moshe. V'kol hadavar katan, all the small things they were able to judge on their own. Everything is working out. This is beautiful. Final pasuk. Vayishalach Moshe et chotno v'elech le'olatzo. Tells them time to go. Yitro. Time for you to go home. Vayishalach. What happened? Why did he send them away?
His family.
Exactly. That is the right answer. He did send him to convert his family. The Me'am Loez brings a very nice explanation of what happened there. It says that Moshe escorted Yitro, And he was telling him, please don't go, please stay with us. And he says, you gave us such good advice. And not only that, it's your outsider outlook. You know, you coming from the outside and giving us your insight was so good. It was so beneficial to us. Please stay with us. Maybe you can give us additional advice. Be our eyes. What does he tell him? He says a candle only lights up dark places. He says, in a place where there is light, there's no need for a candle. Meaning what? He says, you have over here both the sun and the moon. You have Moshe and Aharon. You have the moon at night and the sun during the day. Me, I'm a candle. What light can I help out in the day and the night? You don't need me for that. He says, Mani benechem. He says, let me go to Midian, and over there, in Midian, I'll have more of a purpose. Why? I'll be able to convert my family, and I can convert all the people of my city, and I'll bring them all under the Shekhinah. So look at this. The Baal Tshuva is so excited for discovering the truth. What does he do? He wants to go spread the word. What's the first thing that you do about Tshuva? First, you do yourself. After you fix yourself, after you do Teshuvah on yourself, what do? You try to your loved ones. Why? It's your family. Your brother, your sister, your mother, your father, aunts, uncles, right? Then you move on to friends. After friends, you go into the public. You go into the shuls, you go into the streets, you go into places. Did you hear about God? Did you hear? I've seen a lot of Baalei Teshuvah that have been so excited that you see them, they go to networking meetings. Everybody's talking about exchanging business cards and this and that. And you see that one guy over there talking about Parashat Shavua, and he's talking about to God. It happens. He is so excited about this newfound emet, the truth in his life, that he wants other people to share it. So he tells them that he's going to go spread the word to his family and to the surroundings. He was able to convert all the Midianites. Beautiful. And they lived happily ever after. Right? I'd like to give an alternate ending to this scenario. We brought it in previous years, but I'll repeat it again only because this time we're going to take it in a different direction. So it's not going to be as if we're repeating it the same thing. But a beautiful example how Baal Teshuvah likes to go out there and inspire others. And you do see that. Most Baalei Teshuvah, when they find, did you hear this chidush? Did you hear about this rabbi? Did you hear about this class? There's a beautiful class on Wednesday nights, on Thursday nights, on Friday night. There's an event over there. Tuesday night, they get excited. Pay attention. Baalei Teshuvah, they get excited, and they want more people to get involved. Now, there's another way to learn this out. And it says, Vayishalach Moshe et chotno. Why would Moshe send away his father-in-law after such a successful time together, such successful advice that was given to him? And the truth is that his advice was good up until a certain point. Logically, it made sense. Logistically, it was genius. Spiritually, it was not. His advice was not the best advice for the ruchaniyut of Am Yisrael, for the spirituality of Am Yisrael. Why? He separated Moshe from the Jewish people. Up until Yitro came, every single person can get online and speak to Moshe Rabbeinu. Every single person can stand online and ask Moshe a question, a blessing, just to look at the rabbi. Everybody had that option. Yitro comes into the picture. He put 5, 6 different layers in front of him. Where's Moshe Rabbeinu? Talk to the secretary. Talk to the gabbai. Talk to them. Make an appointment. We were this close just a minute ago. Now we're so far away. He distanced the Jewish people from the Gedol Ador, from the Tzaddik, from the leader. They had access, but it's 5 layers of of screens, of buffers than what it was previously. Just before Yitro came, they're actually able to have FaceTime. I don't know about you guys. Sephardics, we love our rabbis, Baruch Hashem. When they come to town, we flock to them. And then you know what we do? We stand online for 3 hours. You know to do what? To kiss his hand. To do what? To ask him a question. To what? To get a bracha. Why? We love it. We believe that the rabbi, if I kiss his hand, I get a bracha. If he gives me a bracha, it's going to come true. I'm sure the Jews in the desert, that FaceTime they would have with Moshe, you know what it is? That you come, Moshe Rabbeinu, kiss that hand. Give me a bracha for my daughter. Give me a bracha for they don't need parnasah over there. Whatever, imagine. They lost out on that FaceTime with Moshe. They have all these layers of separation now. No direct context to the tzaddik. So when he said, Navol Tibol, that you're going to wilt away, Yitro was missing one thing. He didn't understand that his son-in-law is a superhuman. Yeah, a regular guy can't stay all day, from morning to night, asking questions. But Moshe is not a regular person. Moshe went up to the heavens for 120 days. He didn't eat, he didn't drink. Moshe Rabbeinu had chavruta with Kadosh Baruch Hu. Moshe Rabbeinu fought with angels and won. Moshe Rabbeinu was not a normal human being. He was able to withstand that. He was able to sit all day and all night and answer questions to the Jewish people. Who? That's last year's, and we have the answer to that. That's last year's lesson. I just don't want to repeat it, but at the end of the class, I'll answer it.
But also you said you can respect the father now that you talk about it.
Something else. I'll give it to you at the end of the class. Now, the Moshe Rabbeinu, anything that was impossible was possible. We saw that. That's the epitome of Moshe Rabbeinu. Anything that was impossible, he was able to make happen. So the fact that he told them, "Oh, you're going to wilt away," no, he wouldn't have wilted away. The fact that the fact that now there's 4 or 5 different layers before Moshe Rabbeinu, not the greatest thing. What do we learn from here? Yitro was a model Gentile. He was really the best Gentile that could be, in search of spirituality, finds God, comes back, converts, super excited about finding God, takes the Jewish people that were in a slump from Amalek and picks them back up and all of a sudden crystallizes for them what's important. Look at the beauty and the awesomeness of God. He's a great cheerleader for God, goes, converts other people. Yet, he lacked something, which is what? He lacked heritage. He didn't have that. He lacked experience. He didn't experience Yetziat Mitzrayim. He didn't experience the 10 plagues. He heard about it. He didn't live it. His emunah was a day old, a week old, a month old. It's not the emunah of Jews that have been enslaved for 210 years, still waiting for Hashem to save them. It's not like Jews that have been in exile for over 2,000 years, waiting for Mashiach. It's a different thing. You can't compare that Jew to the one that's just converting a minute ago. I'm sure all of that came with time, because Baalei Tshuva do develop that after a period of time, but not right away. So what is it? There's a Mishnah in Pirkei Avot. It's the 4th chapter, the first Mishnah. Pirkei Avot Dalet says, the first Mishnah, Ben Zoma Omer, Ezeu Chacham, who is wise, who is smart? Halomed Mikol Adam. One who learns. That's also, but Halomed Mikol Adam, someone who learns from everybody. Someone who learns from everybody. From every single person. Whether he's a tzaddik, whether he's a rasha, whether he's a goy, whether he's a Jew, whether he's a genius, whether he's an Am Haaretz. There's something to learn from every single person you meet. And by the way, Hashem puts people into your life so you can learn. You see Shlomo HaMelech looked at an ant, what did he say? says, let the lazy person take a look at the ant. Go learn a lesson. You see somebody lazy, tell them, go look at an ant. Why? An ant doesn't stop working. Doesn't stop working. Constantly saving food for when? For the future. For a rainy day. What happens? They say that the lifetime of an ant, right? They save enough food for 6 months. The problem is an ant only lives for a month. So you can learn from everything. What can we learn from Yitro? What can we learn from Yitro? Ezehu chacham halomed mikol adam. We just learned a little bit about this individual. What can we learn from him? So there's several lessons. There's the good, there's the bad, and there's the convert. Let's see, and there's the Baal Tshuva also. What's the good? First thing first, I gotta say, he's a great example of a Baal Tshuva. Great example of somebody who's in search of spirituality. Now here could be a Gentile or a Jew. There's a lot of Jews that go all the way to Nepal to sit on top of a mountain to and to do what? They're looking for what? What are they looking for? God. In the wrong place. They go to India. In the wrong place. They do all these different... In the wrong place. Why? They need spirituality. A lot of people take drugs. They listen to all this music, this, that. They're in search of an experience, a spiritual experience. In the wrong place. In the wrong place. So he was in search of spirituality and he found it. You know what? Great example of a Baal Tshuva. He was searching for truth. He was finding the truth. He recognized the truth. And after he found the truth, he followed the truth. Got to give him credit for that. What's bad about Yitro? Never take advice to distance yourself from a tzaddik. Somebody tells you, you gotta stay away from that righteous Jew. Why would you do that? Even if people have an opinion of rabbis, who are you to tell you to distance yourself? You throw ahead an opinion. Nowadays we have that a lot. A lot of rabbis. There are a lot of questionable rabbis. This guy doesn't like his delivery. This guy doesn't like his approach. He said it this way. He said it that way. And all of a sudden everybody's putting X's on rabbis. Don't listen to this rabbi. Don't listen on that rabbi. He's like this and like that. Don't listen to anybody who tries to distance you from Torah. You're a human being, make your own decisions. Yeah, right? Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov. You search for yourself. Nowadays, I know that it's difficult. At times of Mashiach, you don't know. Is a good rabbi, is not a good rabbi. Yeah? All of a sudden you're like, oh, the Torah is so sweet, but now he's shambling the other rabbi. He's doing Lashon Hara. What do you do? So, you take the example of what they say in the Gemara. You take it like a rimon. You take the inside and you throw out the klipa. Me, what I do is when I hear a beautiful Torah, I listen to it. The minute the rabbi turns into Lashon Hara about another rabbi, because they don't do it because they're doing Lashon Hara, because they found a pasuk that tells them that when a rabbi acts like this, a leader acts like this, you have every right to say this and to do that. I understand. I get that pass that they get to do that. But at the end of the day, we shouldn't hear it. So what do? Turn it off. Go to the next Dvar Torah. Search for the Torah. The other stuff, turn it off. But what's the whole thing that the rabbis also tell us? Don't get involved. What do you say when people are two fighting? Don't step in. Why? You don't know what happens when you step into a fight of two people fighting. You get hurt yourself. You don't know why these rabbis have these things between them. We don't. Each one search fine, but anybody that tells you to distance yourself from a tzaddik, that's bad. Also, what was bad that we shouldn't learn from Yitro? That we shouldn't take Gentile advice for a Jewish soul. Even though on the outside, on paper, it made a lot of sense, Yitro's advice. But in reality, taking advice from somebody who is not taking your spirituality into account is a big, big problem. Meaning we can go to a lot of doctors, psychiatrists, therapists, read books, all these different things. It's great. Everything that they're saying is 100% A-okay. The only thing is they don't have one thing in mind. My ruchaniyut, my spirituality, my relationship with God. It's missing. It's that missing ingredient. And for me, it's everything.
You can't trust it.
You could.
How? Involved.
You could, right? But how? If it doesn't take your spirituality into account. So it always leads you to go back to the rabbis. Everything that they're teaching is recycled emet from the Torah. You know, positive psychology right now. What's positive psychology? Chesed v'ahavta lecha kamocha. Close the book. That's it. Chesed v'ahavta lecha kamocha, and go on. All the different things that are out there. There's an essence to it. There's a meaning to it. There's something over there, but none of them are taking into consideration my relationship to Hashem. So, if somebody's giving you amazing advice, but your spirituality is not being accounted for, you have to pump the brakes. That's why it's always good to have a rabbi who's in touch with the times, who's in touch with the world, who knows you, who's in touch with your character. So when you ask for advice, you don't go for a book that's been written for 1,000,000 different Gentiles. You go to the rabbi who knows you, can give you the right advice for you. And that was Moshe Rabbeinu. That was Moshe Rabbeinu. That's what was taken away from us. So go to the rabbi that knows exactly Shorosh Mishpachah. Exactly. And you can find it in your local neighborhood, or you can have a mega rabbi that you follow, whatever it is. There's a rabbi that is exactly like Moshe Rabbeinu for you. You have to be in search of that rabbi for yourself. Now, in conclusion, all the good and the bad from the Gentile, from the convert, from Yitro, from the Baal Teshuvah Yitro, is a lesson for today. Lesson number 1, don't become comfortable, or don't become comfortably numb to God's greatness. God's greatness is all around us. Don't be comfortably numb. Not recognizing the air that you breathe, the vision that you have, the world, the ocean, the trees, the sky. You have to press reset on yourself and look at it wow. You have to throw yourself for the moment. Also, it's always good to get an outside opinion. We see Moshe Rabbeinu took Yitro's advice and it worked. By the way, Hashem agreed to Yitro's advice because Moshe Rabbeinu asked God, and God said, yes, that's a good idea, let's do it. It's good to get an outside opinion, but just make sure it's Torah-based. A Torah-based opinion for a Jew who's concerned about his spirituality is the smartest move that you can do. Also, a simple, genuine, personal experience with God, a simple experience with God like Yitro, just finding out, just hearing about the greatness of God. And we got books and books and books that talk about the greatness of God. It becomes a springboard to a lifetime of truth and happiness. Meaning the experience that Yitro had in the desert is not so far-fetched as you just walking into that room right there, pulling out a book and finding out about God from one rabbi or from another, or as simple as you just walking out into the street. And now, instead of just being comfortably numb, walking home, why don't you just say, where's God? Where is he? Let me look. Look at that sky. Who created that sky? What are those stars? What's that moon right there? Look at an airplane. Wow, how does an airplane work? Look at the chokhmah that Hashem gave to the human being to build. Be in awe of things. I'm still in awe of my cell phone. How does a cell phone work? How does texting work? What's these waves, these things? There's so many things. Look at yourself. Look at your body. Look at your fingers moving. Look at your vision. Look how you go to sleep. You wake up refreshed. Be in awe of yourself. God is everywhere. And if you're going to be comfortably numb, and if you're just going to check in and check out, just check boxes your whole life, you're missing out on life. But if you act like Yitro, if you act like a Baal Teshuvah, if you wake up in the morning and you're excited because you're present, you're here, and you're discovering or rediscovering God, it's a whole different experience. And I can tell you that you can say, Ze Eli ve'anveu. This is my God. Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sharone. I discovered for myself also. Not Elohei Avi. We can always rely on Abba and Saba that they did the work for us. But it's not the same like when you do the work. It's very, very important to have a real experience in our religion, a real experience with God, and a real experience with the Torah. Because if you're just faking it, this is one thing that faking it fake it until you make it, doesn't really work. Even though they say do it lo lishma and then lishma, that's for people that are already in. But for anybody who wants to have a real spiritual experience, all you have to do is be present. Because the Yetzer Hara has got us so busy on our phones, thinking about this, thinking about that. If you just clear your mind, just pay attention, where am I? Oh, look at this street, look at this tree, look at this person, look at me, you start to see God all around you. The Yetzer Hara has got us so busy thinking that he doesn't want us to have 1 minute to think about the greatness of Hashem. And what's the easiest and the best way to come back and be about Teshuvah is when you recognize the greatness of Hashem. Because you say, wow, the whole world and everything in it, including myself, is in his hands. That thought alone should get you excited to be a Baal Teshuvah. Hashem Baruch Atem, Yisamach Atem, B'ezrat Hashem, that we all have the fervor, enthusiasm, and desire to be Baal Teshuvah daily.